What is up, everybody? Hope you are having a great Friday. Just wanted to connect with you real quick and share a quick word out of Scripture. It's found in 1 John chapter 5, verse 21. It says, "Little children, keep yourself from idols." So we've been talking about sin, and in particular, deeply rooted sin in our lives. The sin underneath the sin, or the sin behind the sin, so to speak. And a lot of times we think about kind of that surface sin and things that kind of come out of our mouths or in our actions, but a lot of times behind those sins or underneath those sins, deeply rooted in our lives, is another sin. Ultimately, the unholy trifecta, the unholy trinity of sins. Underneath the sins, the sin rooted behind every other sin, we normally see pride, and we see ingratitude. And the third thing that I want to talk about today is idolatry. And so every sin that I can think of could be traced back to one of those three, if not all three: pride, ingratitude. We talked about complaining. Pride, ingratitude, and idolatry. These are deep-rooted sins. These are the foundational sins, the fundamental, deeply got their hooks into you kind of sins. These are the kinds of sins that we really, really war against. When we talk about warring against flesh and blood, we're really talking about pride and idolatry and the sin of ingratitude. See, here in 1 John chapter 5, he closes the book out, the book of 1 John, with this call, to keep ourselves from idols. We are called to keep ourselves from idols. And that may be strange, because it seems like, as a Christian, we don't really see ourselves as worshipers of strange gods or idols. But there it is. At the end of 1 John, right there, the very last closing sentence: keep yourselves from idols. See, this warning isn't given to us in case, there's this off chance that one of us may wander from the faith and fall into the sin of idolatry. No, it's given to us because it is one of our root problems. It is, on any given day, something that we will always struggle against. And it is something that we as Christ followers must fight against. We must war against every single day. Even though we may even know the dangers of idolatry and the commands to keep ourselves from idolatry, do you know what the particular idols are that you need to keep yourself from? See, it's not enough to say that you'll worship a God or worship Christ alone and reject these false idols. We have to be able to recognize what these idols look like, the different shapes and forms and sizes that idolatry takes, because they are many. Idolatry takes the form of all kinds of things, even things that aren't inherently bad. There are good things that idolatry can take. I love my kids, for example. My kids, I love them. I would die for them. But if I'm not careful, my kids, my family, my wife can be an idol if I place them above God. See, idolatry is the exaltation of anything or anyone above God. See, in confronting your idols, my idols, first requires that we identify them. So what I want you to do today is look deep into your heart. Where do your thoughts drift to? What do you find yourself thinking about? What makes you the happiest? What makes you the angriest? Shockingly, things that make you angry, you can probably find a pretty good idol right there. What are you most afraid of? What do you fear? Right? What gives you the greatest sense of satisfaction? Is there something or someone in your life that, if it was suddenly gone or taken away from you, that you would find life to be meaningless or not worth living? Is there anything in your life that you absolutely couldn't live without? Some of you think about maybe, your phone being taken away from you. Phones aren't necessarily a bad thing, but, take your phone away and you something you may consider life not worth living. Questions like that are really tough, but they do require an honest examination of our heart, and they will help us find our idols. Each of these idols must be confronted with the supremacy of Jesus Christ. It must be confronted with the gospel. And just as we are called by Jesus to deny ourselves and take up our cross and follow him, we are called to deny idols also. All right, so here's the challenge for you today. What I want you to do is identify 5 idols in your life, or potential idols. They may not be an idol right now, but they could potentially, or they have been in the past, and you've had to kind of put them in check. And then I want you to write down how you can keep them in check or get rid of them altogether. Remember, idols may not necessarily be bad things. They can be things like sports. They can be family, just like I talked about earlier. They can be academics. If getting A's is so important to you that you like find your identity, find your meaning, find your satisfaction. If you make an A, it makes you really happy. If you don't make an A, it makes you really, really angry. That may be an idol in your life. Same thing with sports. If winning is important, or being the best is more important than anything, and you find sports causes you to be the happiest and it causes you to be the angriest, that may be an idol in your life. It may be, again, family. It may be a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It may be social media. If you find yourself finding meaning and validation in getting likes or getting shares or people noticing you, it may be social media. It may be video games. Those, again, are inherently bad things, but they can become quickly an idol. And, of course, there are things that are inherently bad that also can be idols too. So identify those in your life. And if you'd like, maybe share 1 or 2 of those with us on GroupMe. All right. I love you guys. I miss you guys. If you need anything at all, anything at all, please let me know. And I will do my best to try and help you or anyone you know out in this time of quarantine and this pandemic time. Also, hopefully we're going to be meeting back soon. But until then, I miss you guys. Stay safe. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.